As the colossal doors of the Solara spaceport slid open with a resonant hum, the vibrant pulse of human activity flooded in. The port was a bustling nexus, alive with beings from various galaxies, but today it was the arrival of Ambassador Linara that drew everyone's attention. The Zerferonian diplomat, encased in her shimmering blue robes, stepped onto the platform, her gaze sweeping across the sea of diverse species with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. Beside her, Minister Torin, a fellow Zerferonian, leaned closer, his voice low and urgent. "Remember, Linara, the humans are not like us. Their emotions drive them. We must be cautious." Linara nodded stiffly, her eyes narrowing slightly. "I am well aware, Torin. I will guard my sentiments, though I find their chaotic nature distasteful." As they made their way through the terminal, Captain Alex Reed, assigned as the head of Linara's security detail, approached with a respectful nod. "Ambassador Linara, welcome to Earth. I'm Captain Reed. I'll be ensuring your safety during your stay." Linara assessed the human before her. Alex's demeanor was calm, and his uniform was impeccably neat, displaying an array of medals that spoke of his experience. "Captain," she replied coolly, "I trust you recognize the importance of this mission?" "Absolutely, Ambassador," Alex responded, his voice firm, yet friendly. "I assure you, you and your delegation are in safe hands. Shall we proceed to the embassy? The Council is eager to begin discussions." As they walked, Alex pointed out various human technologies and architectural marvels, attempting to bridge the gap between their cultures. Linara listened, her expression unreadable, yet inside she found herself surprisingly intrigued by his passion for his people's achievements. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared throughout the spaceport. People began screaming and running in all directions. Alex's hand went instinctively to his sidearm as he looked around for the threat. "Stay close," he shouted over the chaos. Linara felt a surge of adrenaline as she witnessed a small spacecraft spiraling out of control, heading straight for the docking bay. Without thinking, Alex grabbed her arm and pulled her away, just as the spacecraft crashed into the area they had been seconds ago, sending debris flying. Breathing heavily, Linara found herself shielded by Alex's body. "Are you all right, Ambassador?" he asked, his concern evident. "Yes," she replied, her heart racing not just from the danger, but also from the unexpected protectiveness she felt in his embrace. "Thank you, Captain Reed, that was commendable." Alex smiled slightly, helping her to her feet. "It's part of the job, but we need to get you to safety. Follow me." As they navigated through the emergency response teams rushing to contain the situation, Linara observed Alex's interactions with his team and the respect he commanded. His ability to remain composed and take charge in a crisis did not fit with her initial assessment of humans as purely chaotic and disorderly. Reaching the relative safety of their diplomatic transport, Linara turned to Alex, her perspective shifting subtly. "Captain, perhaps I have more to learn about your people than I first assumed." Alex met her gaze, an earnestness in his eyes. "Perhaps we both do, Ambassador. Let's start with getting you to the embassy, then we can tackle the galaxy." Linara nodded, her thoughts swirling. As the transport doors closed, sealing them off from the chaos outside, she felt an unfamiliar flicker of anticipation. This mission might hold more surprises than she had ever imagined. The ride to the embassy was tense, with both Linara and Alex deeply lost in thought, reflecting on the near catastrophe at the spaceport. Upon arrival, the grandeur of the Earth-built embassy impressed Linara, its blending of various architectural styles reflecting the diversity of its inhabitants. Inside, Alex guided Linara through the sprawling corridors toward the conference room where the preliminary talks were scheduled to begin. "The Council has prepared a detailed agenda for our discussions," Alex mentioned as they walked, handing Linara a digital tablet filled with topics and schedules. Linara examined the tablet, her expression neutral. "I see. Your leaders seem committed to transparency and efficiency. It's commendable." Alex noticed her softened tone. "We find that clear communication helps in bridging differences, Ambassador." They reached the conference room, a large circular space with a panoramic view of the city's skyline. The room buzzed with diplomats and officials from both sides. As Linara and Alex entered, the room fell into a respectful hush. Councilman Richards, the human representative, stepped forward with a warm smile. "Ambassador Linara, we are honored by your visit. We hope to achieve meaningful progress with Zerferon." Linara nodded, taking her seat at the table. "Thank you, Councilman. I share your sentiments. Let us proceed with the understanding that while our cultures differ, our objectives align. As the meeting unfolded, Alex observed Lenara closely. Her diplomatic mask was impeccable, engaging in discussions with a cool, calculated grace. However, he could tell that the morning's incident had left an impression on her, softening her usual aloofness slightly. During a break, Alex approached Lenara, who stood alone by the window, gazing out at the bustling city below. "It's a lot to take in, isn't it?" he ventured. Lenara turned, her gaze meeting his. "It is. Your world is very different from Zerfaron. There is a vibrancy here that is both chaotic and captivating." "Many find that chaos endearing, Ambassador. It's what makes us human." Lenara smiled faintly, a rare occurrence. Perhaps there is merit in chaos after all. Their conversation was interrupted by an aide who whispered urgently to Alex. His expression turned serious. "Ambassador, there's been a security breach. We believe it's an anti-alien faction. I need to ensure your safety." Lenara's eyes widened slightly. "I appreciate your concern, Captain, but I am not one to flee from danger. I will stand with my delegation." Alex admired her bravery. "Then we'll increase security and continue as planned. But please, stay alert." As they returned to the conference room, Lenara felt an unexpected sense of camaraderie with Alex. His dedication not only to his duty but to her safety stirred something within her. Perhaps, she thought, humans were more complex than she had been willing to admit. The afternoon session was tense, with heightened security and a palpable air of urgency. Lenara took the lead, her voice firm as she addressed the assembly. "Let us not be deterred by those who seek division. Our mission here is one of unity and peace." Alex watched her, impressed by her resolve. Despite her initial prejudices, Lenara was proving herself a leader not just of Zerfaron, but potentially of a new era of interspecies collaboration. As the day ended, Lenara thanked Alex for his vigilance. "Captain Reed, your actions today have gone beyond duty. You have shown honor." Alex nodded, feeling a profound respect for the alien diplomat. "It's my honor, Ambassador. We'll see this through together." Their alliance was still fragile, built on necessity and mutual respect, but as they parted ways that evening, both felt a surprising sense of optimism about the days to come. The following morning, Lenara and Alex met outside the embassy, prepared for another day of negotiations. The sky was overcast, mirroring the growing tension surrounding the peace talks. As they walked toward the conference hall, Alex briefed Lenara on the security updates. "We've increased surveillance around the perimeter and all access points are being monitored closely," Alex explained, his tone serious but calm. "We're not taking any chances, especially after yesterday's threat." Lenara nodded, her face set in a mask of determination. "Your diligence is appreciated, Captain Reed. It is essential that these talks proceed without further interruptions." As they entered the bustling conference hall, the murmur of many languages filled the air, a testament to the diversity of Earth's global governance. Lenara took her place at the head of the table, her posture regal and commanding. Across from her, various human delegates assembled, exchanging courteous nods with her. Councilman Richards initiated the session with a hopeful note. "Let's continue our efforts from yesterday. We've made substantial progress, and I believe we can conclude these talks with a treaty beneficial to both our peoples." Lenara responded, "Indeed, Councilman. It is within our reach to forge a path toward peaceful coexistence. Let us begin." The discussions were intense, with both sides debating key points of trade, technology sharing, and planetary security. Lenara found herself increasingly relying on Alex's insights into human psychology and negotiation tactics, which helped navigate the complex human political landscape. During a recess, Alex and Lenara discussed the next steps in a quiet corner of the room. "I've noticed a pattern in the objections from the delegation from your planet," Alex said, reviewing the notes on his tablet. "It seems there might be underlying concerns not directly addressed in the talks." Lenara considered his words carefully. "You are observant, Captain. There are indeed deeper fears among my people about human unpredictability and our past conflicts. It is a significant hurdle. I think if we address these fears openly, we might facilitate a more fruitful dialogue," Alex suggested, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of trouble. Lenara was about to reply when her communicator buzzed, an urgent message from her security team. She read it quickly, her expression turning grave. "It appears the threat is closer than we anticipated. There's been an attempt to hack our diplomatic network, likely to disrupt the negotiations." Alex responded immediately, signaling to his team. We'll lock down the network and trace the intrusion. Ambassador, it might be best to adjourn for today while we ensure everything is secure. Lenara agreed, though reluctantly. Very well, Captain. Ensure that our communications are protected. We cannot afford any leaks or manipulations. As the delegates were informed of the early adjournment, murmurs of concern spread through the room. Lenara stood, addressing the group with a calm authority that silenced the whispers. Let us not be swayed by attempts to undermine our progress. We will reconvene tomorrow, stronger and more united in our purpose. As the room cleared, Lenara turned to Alex, her gaze reflecting a mix of appreciation and concern. Your role in these talks has become more than just security, Captain Reed. You are a pivotal element in the success of this mission. Alex nodded, feeling the weight of her words. I'm committed to seeing this through, Ambassador. Together, we'll ensure these talks don't just succeed, but lead to a lasting peace. That evening, as Lenara reflected on the day's events, she felt a surprising confidence in her partnership with Alex. Their alliance, born out of necessity, was evolving into a dynamic collaboration, one that might indeed change the course of human and Zerferonian relations for generations to come. The next morning, Lenara and Alex arrived at the conference hall to find an increased security presence, a silent testament to the previous day's cyber threats. Despite the heightened tension, Lenara appeared composed, her demeanor as unyielding as ever. Alex briefed her as they walked. Our tech teams worked overnight. We've managed to secure our networks and trace the intrusion back to a source that's unsettling. It's not just fringe groups involved. There are hints that someone within the delegation might be leaking information. Lenara's gaze hardened at this revelation. This complicates matters. We need to keep the talks going, but also root out the traitor discreetly. Can you handle this, Captain Reed? I'm on it, Ambassador, Alex assured her, his expression serious. I'll coordinate with our intel teams and keep you updated. Meanwhile, stay focused on the negotiations. We can't let this undermine the treaty. As the day's sessions began, Lenara took the lead with renewed vigor, addressing the assembled delegates with both grace and authority. The talks delved into complex issues of interstellar law and sovereignty, each point critically important for the success of the treaty. Despite the underlying tension, Lenara maintained her diplomatic poise, supported silently by Alex's reassuring presence. During a break, Alex pulled Lenara aside to a secluded corner of the embassy's lush garden. I have more unsettling news, he whispered, checking his surroundings for eavesdroppers. We've identified a suspect, someone from your staff closely involved in the negotiations. We're still gathering evidence, but everything points to them. Lenara felt a chill despite the warm sunlight. That is a grave betrayal. How shall we proceed? With caution, Alex replied. I suggest we set a trap. If we feed them false information and monitor their communications, we can catch them in the act without alerting them that we're onto them. Lenara nodded, her mind racing with the implications. Do it, but keep it tightly controlled. Only you and I should be aware of this plan. The remainder of the day was a dance of diplomacy and deceit, as Lenara engaged the delegates with the dual aim of advancing the treaty and setting the stage for the trap. She found herself relying increasingly on Alex's strategic insights, impressed by his blend of tactical acumen and genuine concern for the mission's success. That evening, as they reviewed the day's events in her office, Lenara expressed her appreciation. Captain Reed, your advice today was invaluable. I am beginning to understand why your leaders chose you for this role. Alex smiled slightly. It's my honor, Ambassador. I believe strongly in what we're trying to achieve here. Peace between our people would be a significant victory. As they parted ways for the night, Lenara paused at the door. Alex, she started, hesitating a moment before continuing. Thank you, not just as a diplomat to her security advisor, but personally. You've shown me a side of humanity I had not considered before. Alex, taken aback by her use of his first name, nodded. We're in this together, Lenara. We'll see it through to the end. As Lenara retreated to her quarters, her thoughts were a whirl of diplomatic strategies and personal revelations. The growing bond with Alex, based on mutual respect and shared challenges, was becoming something she could no longer categorically define as just professional. It was a complexity she had not anticipated, adding another layer to the already intricate tapestry of her mission. The following day, as Lenara and Alex prepared to implement their plan to expose the traitor within the delegation, the atmosphere at the embassy was charged with a palpable sense of urgency. The early morning air was cool and sharp as they met briefly in the courtyard before entering the conference hall. "Everything is set for today," Alex whispered, handing Lenara a small device disguised as a pen. "This will allow us to track communications directly from our suspect. Be cautious in how you use it." Lenara pocketed the device with a nod. "I understand. Let's hope this brings us closer to uncovering the full extent of the deceit." As they entered the hall, the tension among the delegates was evident, each person acutely aware of the critical phase the negotiations had reached. Lenara took her seat, her posture erect and authoritative, her mind alert to every shift in the room's dynamics. The morning's discussions were intense, focusing on the final stipulations of the treaty regarding shared space territories. Lenara skillfully navigated the complex debates, her diplomatic acumen evident as she proposed solutions that catered to both human and Zerferonian interests. Midway through the session, her communicator buzzed discreetly, an alert from Alex indicating that the suspect had taken the bait. The false information they had fed him was being transmitted through his communications network. Lenara excused herself from the session under the guise of a diplomatic call and met Alex in a secure location. "It's confirmed then," she said, a mix of relief and disappointment in her voice. "How do we proceed?" Alex checked the data on his device. "We have enough to confront him, but I suggest we wait until the day's end. Let's not disrupt the session now. We're too close to a breakthrough with the treaty." Lenara agreed, her expression hardening. "Tonight, then, we will confront him with the evidence and ensure he cannot further endanger our mission." Returning to the hall, Lenara resumed her duties with renewed focus, though her mind occasionally drifted to the impending confrontation. The session concluded with significant progress, and as the delegates filed out, there was a cautious optimism in the air. That evening, Lenara and Alex, along with a select few from the security team, confronted the suspect in a secure interrogation room within the embassy. The man, a mid-level diplomat from Zerferon, was visibly shaken as the evidence of his treachery was laid out before him. "Why?" Lenara asked, her voice cold. "Why betray your own people?" The man's voice was a mixture of defiance and regret. "Fear, Ambassador. I feared what this treaty would mean for our people. Too quick, too trusting. I thought I was protecting us." Lenara listened, her face an impassive mask as the man detailed his contacts with the anti-alien faction and their promises of support if he helped sabotage the talks. After he was taken away by security, Lenara stood by the window, looking out at the night sky, her thoughts troubled. Alex joined her, his expression solemn. "We'll increase security measures, and I'll personally oversee the final stages of the treaty negotiations." Lenara turned to him, her usual composure tinged with fatigue. "Thank you, Alex. Today was a victory, though it feels hollow. But we must continue, for the sake of both our peoples." Alex nodded. "We're almost there, Lenara. Let's see this through to the end." As they left the room together, a silent understanding passed between them. They were allies not just in mission, but in spirit, bound by a shared commitment to forge a path of peace out of shadows of deceit. The battle lines had been drawn not just around them, but also within, as each faced the challenges not only of diplomacy, but of their internal convictions and fears. After the confrontation with the traitor, a palpable shift occurred within the embassy. The air was thick with both relief and renewed caution, as Lenara and Alex prepared for the final day of negotiations. The morning was brisk, the early sun casting long shadows across the embassy gardens as they met to discuss their strategy. "We've tightened security, and all communications are being closely monitored," Alex assured Lenara as they walked through the tranquil garden. "The last thing we need is another surprise." Lenara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Today we must finalize the treaty. It's vital that we conclude with clarity and strength. I want to believe we've rooted out the deceit, but we must remain vigilant." As they entered the conference room, the delegates greeted them with a mix of respect and curiosity. The previous events had not gone unnoticed, and there was an underlying buzz of speculation among the attendees. Lenara addressed the room with poise, acknowledging the challenges they had overcome. "Today marks a pivotal moment in our journey," Lenara began, her voice resonant in the hushed room. "We stand on the brink of something historic. Let us proceed with the knowledge that our integrity defines the future we are building." The day's sessions were grueling, with each clause of the treaty scrutinized and debated. Lenara led the discussions with a deft touch, balancing firmness with diplomacy, her rapport with Alex providing a stable foundation. His insights into human behavior and strategy were invaluable, allowing Lenara to navigate the complex negotiations with an understanding that transcended cultural boundaries. During a short recess, Alex and Lenara stepped aside to confer privately. "You've handled the talks exceptionally well," Alex commented, admiring her ability to maintain focus under pressure. "We're almost there." Lenara smiled slightly, the tension easing momentarily. "It's been an unforeseen alliance, Alex. Your support has been crucial." Their conversation was interrupted by an aide who brought an urgent message. Lenara's expression shifted as she read the note, her eyes narrowing. "It seems the anti-alien factions are not yet done with us. They are planning a demonstration outside the embassy this evening." Alex responded immediately, his protective instincts kicking in. "I'll coordinate with local security to ensure it doesn't escalate. We can't afford any disturbances during the signing." As the final session commenced, the delegates returned to the table with a sense of determination. Lenara and Alex shared a brief, supportive glance before she took the lead, guiding the assembly through the last hurdles. The discussions were intense, reflecting the importance of each decision made. At last, the final version of the treaty was approved. The room erupted in a subdued celebration, diplomats from both sides acknowledging the gravity of their achievement. Lenara and Alex exchanged a look of mutual respect and relief, knowing they had steered their respective sides through one of the most challenging diplomatic endeavors in their careers. The signing ceremony was set for the evening, giving them a few hours to prepare. As Lenara returned to her quarters to reflect and ready herself, she realized how much she had changed through this experience. Her initial disdain for humans had transformed into a deep appreciation, particularly for one human, Alex. Preparing for the ceremony, Lenara found herself not just contemplating the future of interstellar relations, but also the personal revelations she had encountered. The treaty would mark not just a new beginning for their planets, but also a new chapter in her own life, one where prejudice was replaced with understanding and perhaps respect with something deeper. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the city, Lenara looked out her window, her thoughts a mix of diplomatic triumph and personal introspection. Tonight, she would not only be signing a treaty, but also acknowledging the unexpected journey of the heart she had embarked upon, all thanks to an alliance that had turned into something far more significant. The evening air was cool and crisp as Lenara and Alex approached the grand hall where the treaty signing ceremony was to be held. The earlier tension from the planned demonstrations had dissipated, thanks to Alex's efforts with the local security forces ensuring a peaceful atmosphere outside the embassy. Inside, the hall was elegantly decorated with symbols of unity. Intertwining designs representing both human and Zerferonian cultures adorned the walls, and a large circular table sat in the center, covered with a ceremonial cloth. As they entered, Alex leaned over to Lenara. "It looks like everything is set. The security perimeter is tight, and the delegates are ready. How are you feeling?" Lenara took a deep breath, her gaze sweeping over the hall. "I am ready. This is the culmination of our efforts, Alex. Let's make this a memorable evening." The delegates began to arrive, each person's face reflecting the gravity and hope of the moment. Lenara greeted each one with grace and professionalism, her poise as an ambassador undiminished by the challenges of the past days. Once everyone was seated, the ceremony began. Councilman Richards stood first, addressing the assembly with warmth. "Tonight, we mark a historic milestone. This treaty is not just a document, it is a testament to what we can achieve when we choose dialogue over conflict." Lenara then stood, her voice clear and steady. "This treaty represents more than just peace. It is a promise for our future generations. We have built something here that will stand as a foundation for a prosperous and unified future." She looked towards Alex, who nodded subtly, his expression proud. Taking a ceremonial pen, Lenara signed the treaty with a deliberate stroke, her name etched alongside the terms they had all fought so hard to agree upon. Alex followed, representing Earth's military forces committed to upholding the peace. After the signing, applause filled the room, a sound mingled with a palpable sense of relief and hope. Lenara and Alex shook hands with the delegates, their smiles genuine as they accepted congratulations. Once the formalities concluded, the room cleared out for a celebratory reception. Lenara pulled Alex aside, her demeanor softening. "Alex, I could not have reached this point without you. Your insight, your protection, your friendship, it has changed my understanding of what it means to be human." Alex, moved by her words, responded warmly. Lenara, working with you has been one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences of my life. I've learned as much from you as you have from me, maybe more. The conversation was interrupted by Councilman Richards, who joined them with a broad smile. You two make quite the team. Tonight's success is a testament to your hard work and mutual respect. As the evening wore on, Lenara felt a mixture of elation and melancholy. The treaty was signed, and her mission was complete, but it meant her time on Earth was coming to an end. She found herself reluctant to leave, her thoughts increasingly occupied with the bonds she had formed, particularly with Alex. Before departing the hall, Lenara took one last look around, imprinting the moment in her memory. The evening was not just a celebration of political achievements, but of personal victories over prejudice and misunderstanding. As they walked out together, Alex and Lenara shared a quiet, contemplative moment under the starlit sky. "What comes next?" Alex asked quietly. Lenara smiled, her eyes reflecting the stars above. "A new dawn, Alex, for both our worlds. And perhaps in time, a new chapter for us too, one where we continue to learn from each other." With the city lights sparkling in the distance and the calm of peace settling over the night, they walked back to the embassy, side by side, ready to face whatever the future might bring. As the dawn crept over the horizon on the day after the treaty signing, Lenara stood on the balcony of her temporary residence at the embassy, gazing out at the awakening city. The early morning light bathed the skyline in hues of gold and pink, symbolizing a new beginning for Earth and Zerferon. Alex joined her, coffee in hand, offering her a cup. "Morning, Ambassador. Did you get some rest?" Lenara accepted the coffee, her smile gentle. "A little. It's hard to rest when your mind is still echoing with last night's events. It feels surreal that we accomplished what we set out to do." Alex leaned on the railing beside her. "It's a big step forward. You did an incredible job steering this through, Lenara." She took a sip of her coffee, her gaze still fixed on the horizon. "We did this together, Alex. Without your support, and without us challenging each other's perspectives, this wouldn't have been possible." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a courier who handed Lenara a sealed envelope. She opened it to find a new directive from Zerferon. Her expression shifted as she read through the document, a slight frown forming. "What is it?" Alex asked, noticing the change in her demeanor. "It's time for me to return to Zerferon. They want me to lead the implementation phase of the treaty and to report on our proceedings here." She tried to keep her voice steady, but there was a hint of reluctance. Alex sensed her hesitation. "That sounds like a great honor, but also a big change." "Yes, it is." Lenara looked at him, her eyes conveying more emotion than usual. "I have grown quite fond of Earth, and of working with you, Alex. This isn't just a professional partnership. It has become much more meaningful." Alex nodded, his own feelings mirroring hers. "I feel the same, Lenara. This isn't just the end of a project, it's like closing a chapter that I wasn't ready to finish yet." They stood in silence for a moment, each processing the imminent departure. Finally, Lenara spoke, her voice soft but determined. "I have a proposal. While I must return to Zerferon, I don't believe this should be the end of our collaboration, or our friendship." Alex looked at her, a hopeful expression crossing his face. "What are you suggesting?" "I will work from Zerferon to ensure the treaty's success, but I want to establish a liaison office here on Earth, with you as its head. We can continue to work together, not just for the treaty, but to explore other ways our worlds can collaborate." "That sounds like a fantastic idea," Alex said, his voice filled with relief and excitement. "I'd be honored to take on that role." Lenara smiled, her decision bringing her a sense of peace. "Then it's settled. Let's prepare for this next phase together." As the sun rose fully over the city, casting a warm glow across the buildings, Lenara and Alex finished their coffees and prepared to face the day. They walked back into the embassy together, discussing plans and ideas for the future. The treaty was signed, but their journey was far from over. The story of Lenara and Alex had begun with skepticism and professional boundaries, but it had blossomed into a deep mutual respect and a promising partnership. As Lenara prepared for her departure, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. Earth had not only given her a successful treaty, but it also offered her a chance to see humanity in a new light, through the eyes of someone who had become incredibly important to her. In the end, the stars had indeed aligned, not just for their worlds, but for Lenara and Alex, who had discovered an unexpected, life-changing connection in the vast cosmos. As Lenara boarded her shuttle for Zerpharon, she looked back at Alex, knowing this was not goodbye, but a new beginning.